All right, all right, all right. So, uh, Scott, this video is for you. Um, again, I'm not trying to dissuade you from using Roll20. I think it is a wonderful tool to DM with, and I still use it occasionally. Um, Mostly nowadays for background music and sound effects for Roll20, for Fantasy Grounds. And if you can hear that in the background right now, under the sound of my voice, it's because you'll see. Where's that? I have my Roll20 table up and all my sound effects, and I'm playing one right now to kind of give this video just a little bit of class. Anywho, why do I prefer Fantasy Grounds over Roll20? It's hopefully something I can show you, because I think visually seeing it is better than trying to explain it over Steam or something. Now, first things first, I will point out that cost of entry for this pretty noticeable. Um, Luckily, when I decided to get into this and really delve into how to use Fantasy Grounds, I had the disposable income to go ahead and buy the Ultimate license, purchase it straight up. It's about $140 when I got it. It was on a Steam sale not too long ago for like $20 off. But regardless, pretty steep barrier to entry. Now the benefits of that is Roll20. Well, you don't have to pay for it if you don't want to. In order to get full utility out of it, in order to do some of the stuff that Fantasy Grounds has built into it by default on Roll20, you usually would have to purchase their mentor program. I think that's what it's called. Their $10 a month program in order to do some of the stuff that is built in on Fantasy Grounds. Um, so, uh, and then on top of the one, but the thing with Fantasy Grounds, if you purchase the Ultimate license, the one I got, the $140 thing, that's it. You and your players will never ever have to subscribe monthly to anything. You own it. There's no monthly subscription after that. So that's what I went ahead and bit the bullet, and I got it. So it's really a weighing of two options there. Like I said, you don't really have to pay. You can do all the basic stuff with Roll20 and never have to worry about dropping a dime in anything. But if you decide to want to try out Fantasy Grounds and you decide to do the $140 Ultimate license, which, by the way, you don't have to get the Ultimate license. You can get the standard license, which is like $30. And with a standard license, you can still host a game. The only caveat to that is every one of your players would also have to have the standard license. So everyone playing would have to have at least chipped in the $30. With the Ultimate license, only the DM has to have the license. Everyone else can get the free demo and still enjoy the full benefits of Fantasy Grounds. Now, with that out of the way, let me show you why I prefer Fantasy Grounds over Roll20. And we'll start with basically the first screen you come to after you create a table. By the way, and I didn't show this, I started already loaded up. The default built Fantasy Ground has built into it by default the rule sets for like 3.5 D&D, D&D 4, 5e, Pathfinder, Fate Core is in here. I think Savage Worlds. I don't remember. I have to go back and check. But I know just about every of the newer editions of D&D are in here, and Pathfinder definitely, and Fate Core definitely. So, if if you just bought the $140 license or the $30 license, and you just wanted to use their basic rule sets, then you have everything you need available to you. You have to put in a little more work in doing certain parts, which is perfectly feasible. Or you could purchase the extended, more in-depth rule sets from the Fantasy Ground marketplace, which I bought two in particular. Well, three. I bought the in-depth player's handbook for D&D 5e. I bought the monster manual for D&D 5e, and I bought the Dungeon Master Guide for D&D 5e. And I'm going to show you more about that in a little bit. But first, and each of those books, I think were about $40 a piece. Yeah, I know. I dropped a lot of money into this, but I think it's worth it, and I'm gonna show you why. Because once you've created the table and you've chosen um, your game rule set, this is a screen that will pop up, and it's gonna be pretty much the same screen for whatever rule set you choose. The background will probably be different. It probably won't be a dragon because this is a D&D rule set. But this is your table. Another thing I'll point out, since I'm trying to cover all the pros and cons. I am lucky enough to be using a 48-inch TV screen as my monitor. So when I DM, I have a lot of table space. You can clearly see comparing the size of my mouse and my taskbar down here to how much screen realty I have. Most players, if they're using like a standard monitor, like your 24-inch or your 30-inch, whatever, or if they're using a laptop, are not going to have this much real estate. Fantasy Ground's pretty bad about that. Things can be resized, but for some players, they may get a cluttered table. There's really not much you can do about it that I'm aware of. So anyway, with that out of the way, start screen. I figured the best way to do this is to show you the different aspects to setting up a game that I go through. And I want to start by showing you the main reason I use Fantasy Grounds. And that is how easy they've made player creation or character creation for your players. It's so easy that someone who's never even played a tabletop game before can get in here, make a character pretty quick, and be able to effectively use him. And we'll start by going over here to the PC tab. And I'm sorry I don't have a little circle around my mouse pointer. This is a little impromptu video, so you have to follow along with me. But over here on the right hand side are a list of some of the available tabs that are visible to everybody, DM players alike. And the most important one for your players is the PC tab. When they join a table or join your table, they'll be asked to either choose a character that's already been pre-made or to create their own. So let's start with that. So you click on characters, and then it comes up with the character selection screen. Now, as you can see, these are my players. They've already got their characters created. Sir Ramley here is mine for another game, so pretending that was not there. These two were something I was playing around with. But these are my 6 players right here, and they're all fucking amazing. Hopefully I can get you in here one day and kind of like sit in a session to see how cool it is. But for now, we're going to create a new character. And I'll show you how easy it is. You right click, a little radio menu will come up, create item. And then it pops up here. You click on it once, and then a blank character sheet appears. Now, if it's your first time at the table, the first thing you'll need to do before any player creates a character is give them access to the books that are necessary to do so, just like at a real life table if they don't have their own, which in this scenario, since you're the DM, you have control over all the books. So the last tab over here, the last icon, library, is the list of the available books you're providing for your players. Now it's going to show all the books here that I have open on my screen because as a DM I have access to all of them. But if you click on modules down here, it'll show you these are all the books I have currently. The ones with the red circle are the ones that are not available to players. The ones with the green circle with the check mark are the ones that are available. And when you first start a table, your library is going to be pretty empty until you go into your modules and decide which books you want to open. So as you can see here, for example, I'll use something that I have closed to show you how it works. We'll say this DOE sound manual here. You'll see on my library list, Book of Lost Spells, blah 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 blah. It's not listed in any of my open books because it's not open. So you go over here to use sound manual. If I was going to use it, I click on the book, drag to the left, open my book, and then now it's accessible in my library. It's completely pointless. It's actually just like technical information on one of the extensions that I use, so it's not ever needed. So I don't open that book, so I close it back. There you go. It's not on my library anymore. But some of the books that are pretty pivotal to both you and your players are, at least in the default, if you don't buy any more detailed books, are the ones the DD, for example, for D&D, the D&D basic rules, and for the DM, and the D&D basic rules for the players. As you can see, I got that open up for my players, but what I have available for them is a little more involved. I have the Player's Handbook Deluxe here, which has everything in the Player's Handbook available to my players. So what I did was, before they made their characters, I came in here, make sure I had the book open for everybody to use, and then I put a little check mark. The check mark means when they go into their library, it'll be available to them. They see this book here on their library table. And that's what they need to create their characters. So once you have that turned on, and you say, "All right, guys, let's go and get your character created," and they've gone up here to PC, and they've created a new item, and they've opened up their character sheet. This is what is available to them. So let's make a new character for you, Scott. We'll call him Flot Scours. I'm funny. And you're like, okay, what type of character do I want to be? So you come over here to the Player's Handbook in your library, and it has everything organized for you already. And let's say you want to start with your race. So you come here to your race, and you've got all the races available in D&D 5e. And you're looking through them, and you know what? You're not feeling pretty creative today. And you say, I'm just going to be a human. Actually, you know what? I won't do human. Well, actually, no, yeah, I'll do human. Watch, as I drag human over to the character sheet, watch my ability score table over here. Oh, before I drag it over, you want to, let's say you didn't know anything about what the humans do. So you click on human. It pulls up an entire text box here telling you everything you need to know about humans in the settings in D&D 5e. Everything that's in the Player's Handbook is right here. But the most important things are down at the bottom. For example, the human traits. Their ability score increase, you can click on the little shield icon here, and it will show you that all of your ability scores increase by 1. Age is really just flavor. It tells you basically a human's a human. Alignment is going to tell you humans can be anything. Size, they're medium. Speed is 30 feet. Languages, pretty much just says you know common and an extra language of your choice. But the most important one I want to point out here is the ability score increase. All of your ability scores increase by 1. So let's say you wanted to be a human. All you do is you drag human from the races tab here, races box, over to race on your character sheet. And when I drop it, watch my ability scores over there on the left. They all automatically go up by 1, saying, alright, this guy chose a human. So let's say, alright, so Flot Scours is a human. But you're like, okay, so I want to be a human, that's kind of cool. Now I need to choose my class. So you can close out of races and go to classes. Here's every class available for D&D 5e. And You know what? I think Flot Scours would be a fighter. So you can click on fighter again, same as with races. It pulls up everything you need to know about the fighter. Now, by the way, these detailed descriptions I should mention are specifically the basic player's handbook that comes with the default the base version of Fantasy Grounds. Probably has all this. But I'm using the player's handbook deluxe, which includes everything for every race and class and just everything. So it may be different. I haven't looked at those since I've got it. I when I got Fantasy Grounds, I went ahead and bought these books. So anyway, you say you wanted to be a fighter. You come in here, you can read about what a fighter does. Telling you if you gives you basic information on how to create a fighter, gives you ideas for quick building, everything that's in the book. And then it shows all the stuff available to a fighter, all your features, your hit dice. Fighters get a 1d10. All their proficiencies, their starting equipment, and their fighting styles. Now, this is all key because, let's say you want to be a fighter. So over here it says class and level. Click the magnifying glass. And you want to be a fighter, so you drag fighter over. Now remember, their hit die was a 1d10, and among other things. When I add it, it automatically knows you've created a first level fighter. So when it does that, a new window pops up and goes, all right, at level 1, a fighter gets to choose the following abilities. You get to choose 2 of them. And let's see, I'll give you intimidation and survival. Now, on your character sheet, you've got these tabs like you're looking at a sideways folder here. One of the tabs is skills, and you'll notice intimidation and survival have already been set. I didn't have to do anything other than choose them. Also, you notice fighter had a 1d10 hit dice. Down here where it says hit dice, it's already added my 1d10, and it's already set my HP for level 1, which is I think it's your hit die plus your Constitution score, which is a +0. So your max hit die plus a Constitution score, which is a 10 plus 0. Which, by the way, I shouldn't have done that yet. I shouldn't have added my fighter yet before setting my ability score. Let's say, but those things are easily changed. Let's say you wanted your base, you rolled your dice, and your strength came out to be a 16, and your dex a 12, and your constitution a 14, and your intellect a 14, your wisdom a 12. Oh, nope, that's too big. You're not that smart. Your wisdom a 12, and your charisma a 12. You know what? Actually, let's give you charisma of 8. Not because I don't think you're charismatic. I just want to give you a negative modifier. And then let me remove fighter real quick, which is just as easy to remove as it is to add. Right click, delete item. Bam, it's gone. Let me clear my hit points here. I'll show you how that's changed. Because now you have a con score of con modifier +2. So when I drag fighter over, choose my two skills again, not insight, intimidation and survival. You'll notice my max HP is now 12. Automatically calculated it for me. Automatically calculated my base AC, which is 10 plus your dexterity modifier, which is a +1. Your initiative, which is your dexterity modifier, +1. Already put your base speed, your base perception. Already calculated all your saves. Starred the one that you're proficient at, which the stars in 5e in Fantasy Grounds. That's just to show you that you're proficient in that particular skill or attribute. So you've done all that. You've chosen your first level fighter. The next thing that 5e asks you to do is to choose a background. So again, in the library, backgrounds. And you're like, you're a fighter. We'll make you a soldier. Seems like something you would be. You drop soldier. Well, let's read about it first. You can open it up. Tells you everything that a soldier gets and does. They're proficient in athletics and intimidation. Which, after seeing that, you go, okay, I've already proficient in intimidation, so you can go back to your fighter, look at it, and be like, let's see, what other ones do I get to choose from? Animal handling, acrobatics, athletics. We'll say history. Let's change your previous thing from intimidation to history. Oh, don't want to close your character sheet. Where are you at? Alright. So you're like, okay, soldier looks nice. They get proficient at athletics and intimidation. Alright, so you just drag and drop soldier. Then I'm going to close it again. You drag and drop soldier on your background. And you'll notice, under skills, it's already started you in athletics and intimidation. You don't have to do anything else. And for a basic level 1, as far as setting up your class, you've pretty much already done with that part, because I haven't gone to the other tabs to show you what's been going on. I just went to skills. But as I've been dragging everything over, the skills are automatically updated, but more importantly, it's already added all your abilities too. So as a level 1 fighter, you get a fighting style. Archery, defense, dueling, or great weapon fighting, or protection, or 2-weapon fighting, which it gives you the option to choose it. It hasn't set that up there yet, which you get to choose later. Another feature you got from your background was military rank. It tells you, you were a soldier. This is a feature that you get as a soldier, and you can read it and learn what it does. And also at level 1, fighters get second wind, and you can read it and tells you what that does. It also adds in here everything that you're proficient with. All armor, all shields, one type of gaming set, and land vehicles. And pretty much all simple weapons and all martial weapons. It also knew, because you're a human, you were already proficient in common, and you have a choice of a second language. So we'll say your second language was Dwarvish, which, not a big thing. I happen to know it's called Dwarvish because over here on the chat window, it shows every available language that I have created for my game, and I know it's called Dwarvish and not Dwarven. But we'll get to that later. That's not important right now. So it's already added my abilities for you. What it hasn't done yet, because you haven't chosen anything yet, it's added your inventory. Again, if you look back at classes under fighter, you'll see it already tells you in here everything a fighter starts with. You're granted at the beginning of a game either A, chainmail, or B, leather armor, longbow, and 20 arrows. And you go, okay, well that's all well and good, but how do I add that? Simple enough. Go back to your library again, equipment. You can click it. And you go, alright, let's start with, I think you'd be a chainmail wearer. So you can click on armor, and it'll pull up all the armors available in the default D&D setting. You find your chainmail, click it. You can read about it if you want to. Click and drag under equipment. There, automatically added for you. Next thing, a martial weapon and a shield, or 2 martial weapons. I kind of picture you with being kind of more of a sword and board kind of guy. So again, under armor, you can go ahead and add your shield. Drag and drop. But then your weapon, a martial weapon. Click on here, you can close the armor tab now. Click on weapons. Here it lists all the available weapons in the default setting, as well as what damage they do already, and their special properties. It's a good martial weapon for Flot Scours. I'm gonna say Warhammer. Oh wait, that might be might be two wielding. Two-handed. No, it's not two-handed. Alright, so yeah. Flot Scours will use a Warhammer. You can drag and drop that in there. Now, remember, you'll see here in a bit, all I did was add Warhammer to the inventory. I didn't set up any attack rolls, I didn't set up any damage rolls, I just dropped it into your inventory. Alright, next thing on the list. Light crossbow and 20 bolts, or 2 hand axes. I'm not picturing you to be much of a crossbow guy. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw in Well, actually, you know what? For the sake of for this tutorial, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the crossbow, light crossbow, right? Yeah, light crossbow. Drag and drop, and the 20 bolts. Now, 20. You'll see the bolts aren't listed under the weapon table. They're listed under adventuring gear. And you come in here, you find crossbow bolts 20, and drop it in there. What's next on the list? Dungeoneer's pack or Explorer's pack. Now here's where it gets really fucking cool. In Roll20, after you've figured out what's in an Explorer's pack or in a Dungeoneer's pack, which, by the way, you can also find under Adventuring Gear, you can click on, we'll say an Explorer's pack. You can click on it, and it tells you everything that's in it. And you could, and you would have to in Roll20, go through and individually add every single one of these items. But with Fantasy Grounds, all you got to do is click Explorer's Pack, drag it into your inventory. Oh, hold on. And it adds everything automatically from the pack. There's your backpack and your bedroll and your mess kit and your rations and your rope, tinderbox, torch, and water skin. I just had to pick the pack. That's it. And also, automatically calculates encumbrance and weight, but Roll20 does that too, provided you already provide the weights, which Roll20 doesn't have the option to have that. Fantasy Grounds has the built-in weights already. So you've added your equipment. You've chosen your skills. You've got your armor, your shield. You set your saving throws. You've already set your main ability stats. What I have to do now, the only thing it doesn't do, I've noticed, is it doesn't automatically update your AC for some reason. But I know that chainmail gives you an extra 6, and a shield always gives you an extra 2. That takes your AC to a 19, which is pretty fucking good for a level 1. Like, wait, does chainmail do plus 6? Let's double check. Chainmail. Yep, basic AC base is 16. So yeah, level 1, 19 AC. So you've got all your equipment. You've got your we can see what your fighting styles you would have. Being sword and board, you could go pretty basic and choose defense, just give you another AC. Protection, that's not really something that's you can add onto the character sheet. I mean, you can, but it's really up to the DM to keep track of that. Actually, so we'll say you went defensive. While you're wearing armor, you gain a +1 bonus to your AC. So you go back into AC again. Let's see, another armor bonus. We'll say 7 now. Now you got an AC of 20. Your second wind was what you got at level 1. We'll get to that in a minute. You can't choose a martial archetype. So you've already got pretty much everything you need to do with your character done. You've chosen your ability scores have been set, your saves have been set, HP has been set, your hit die has been set, your background has been set, your race has been set already. It automatically calculates your proficiency bonus. You don't have to ever worry about that. It knows what level gets what proficiency. Your skills have already been set and already calculated. Your abilities have already been set. It tells you what you're proficient with. Your inventory has already been set. Your starting inventory. Notes, that's just where you can go into more depth. Let's say you wanted to be the most default soldier possible on your backstory. You can come in here, open up soldier again. Let's say you wanted to roll it randomly. How about that? You can come down here and you can see that every background in 5e gets a personality trait, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. So you click on the personality trait table and it lists all the default personality traits, and you don't really know what yours is. You're like, I'll just roll randomly. You can do that. You hit the roll randomly button. It rolls it on the table, and it shows 8. So you can go down here to 8. I face problems head on. A simple direct solution is the best path to success. That sounds like you. You can literally click and drag it, place it in your personality trait. Simple as that. And you can go to all of them and do the same thing. I wanted to roll 4. I'm not going to roll anymore because that's just a waste of time. We'll do, let's see. I'll do independence for you. You're kind of chaotic, but get in there. Your bond, let's see. Those who fight beside me are worth dying for. Actually, that doesn't sound like you. Uh, I would still lay down my life for the people I serve with. Sure, why not? And your flaw. I have little respect for anyone who's not a proven warrior. Appearance is, you can set whatever you want to there. Your gender, age, height, that's all stuff that doesn't really matter. Your alignment doesn't really matter here. Now, remember earlier when I added your Warhammer and your crossbow into your inventory? I just dragged and dropped them in there. I didn't set no dice rolls, I didn't set no damage rolls. The last tab that's really important on the character sheet is the action tab, the last one here. That's everything your character can do in combat. So you click it. It already knew when I created this character and dragged the Warhammer and the light crossbow in that I was going to use those in combat. I didn't set my ammo already, which is stupid, but I'll do that. But your Warhammer has already had its attack roll calculated, already got its damage roll calculated, as well as its damage type. That's important because in combat, if I say, "All right, Scott, what do you want to do?" You're like, "Well, I want to attack with my Warhammer." I go, "All right, roll me your attack." You can click this. I'm not going to click it yet. I'll show you why in a minute. And if you hit, I'll say, "All right, roll me damage." You click this. And with that, your character is done, at least as a fighter. If you were playing a wizard or a sorcerer or other spellcasters, you may have to add spells to your table, which works the same way as everything else. If you were a cleric, you would come down here to spells, click on cleric. Let's say you wanted to, you were able to cast 2 level 1 spells, and one of them was bless. Bless giving up to 3 people an extra D4 on their die rolls when they do an attack or a save. You can easily just drag and drop bless into your actions page, and it adds the spell, automatically adds the name, automatically adds the effect, and how long it lasts. I'm going to leave that there for a minute because I'm going to show you how that works in combat. But for now, as far as Flot Scours, the level 1 human fighter, your character sheet is done. And it took, what? I don't know how long I've been talking for, but it couldn't have taken 10 minutes. There wasn't no flipping through books, wasn't no crazy typing or anything like that. It was just drag and drop. And that is fucking amazing. So anyway, you are now Flot Scours, level 1 human fighter, in a brand new adventure by your DM Kyle. I'm going to show you the DM side of things now. We'll come back to Flot Scours here in a little bit. As a DM, my job is to not necessarily make my players' life hell, but to provide them the opportunity to excel at whatever it is they want to do, and give them ample opportunity to hilariously fail at it. So let's come up with a pretty basic encounter. A lot of the things I won't cover here because it's stuff that you really can do outside of Fantasy Grounds and import them in. Stuff like, creating the start of the adventure, getting the plot hooks, all that stuff. That's stuff you write down in the notebook and either read or improvise later. I'm talking specifically about combat encounters because that's really what you need a table for, either Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. It gives you a table to make the visualization and the mathematical part of combat encounters easier. So, there's a couple ways you can go about doing this. The first is, without going into derailing too much, a couple trains of thoughts on different ways to DM. Some DMs like to create or already provide this huge, expansive dungeon map, throw it up on the table, and then have your characters explore it room by room. You can do it that way, certainly. That's a viable way. I'm of another school where a lot of the exploration part of a campaign or the role-playing part, I prefer none of that to even have a map. The only parts I ever want to have a crucial map are the combat encounters. And it's not going to be something that's incredibly sprawling or expansive. It's basically a battle map. Everything on the map is everything you need to know in that current scenario. And the default game provides some battle maps in the library. I don't use them. Fantasy Ground battle maps, and a lot of them they're pretty decent. You can click on that, and it'll pull up all the ones they have. So you wanted to fight on the streets. They've got some pretty nondescript battle maps you can use, whatever. Uh, but let's say you wanted to use your own, or you found some online that are really cool. And personally, I found there's a subreddit you can go to called Battle Maps. Believe it or not, that's simple. And you can find all kinds of crazy, awesome battle maps on there, and that's what I've been using. So I click on my maps here, and you'll see my list of images and maps. And I've got all the ones I've got here. Well, images and maps includes every image or every map, anything you want to show your players. So this also includes your handout. So like for your NPCs, you can import them into here and show those to your players. But mostly I use them for my maps. And you'll know if it's got a little P beside it here, that means it's public and everybody can see it. So let me load up, which one was it? My good test map. This one? No, not that one. We'll do City Gates. That's a pretty decent test map. So let's say I was planning an encounter. I knew my party, my intrepid group of adventurers, we're going to be approaching this hostile city, which is a really awesome scenario to work with as a DM. I can challenge my players. I know there's going to be a parapet with archers on top. Maybe some other crazier, harder hitting weapons, maybe like cannons or something. I don't know. Maybe there's some melee guards just inside the gate that they can't see yet. I know it's going to be a hostile encounter. So I'm like, alright, what do I need to set this up with? Well, I know I'm going to need some archers. I know I need some melee fighters. And I know I'm going to need my players, for the most part. What you do first, you click on NPC. But the only reason you're clicking on NPC for now is to get access to this little link here called Encounters. You click on that, and that's where you set up your new encounters. I'm going to leave NPCs open for a bit, because I'll show you what I do with that here in a little bit. So you want to set up a new encounter. So you, let's see, click here, new encounter. Alright, and you get a big old blank encounter here. Next thing, you go to the library as the DM. Now if you have just the basic set, you would click here on the basic rules, and then NPCs, and then it's got your NPCs and monsters. You can choose to list them by alphabetical, challenge rating, or class. In this case, I'm gonna click class because I want humanoids, so I can sort through here and find humanoids or whatever right here, and it's got a list of them. But I'm not going to use the basic rule set because it didn't show all the monster manual. I'm going to go to the one that I bought, the DD MM monster manual here, which has all the monsters in the monsters manual listed. And the same thing, you click on NPCs, sort by class index, and I'm going to go down to human. You'll see there's a lot more here now. Humanoid. Alright. So, what do I need? Well, let's look at guard. Scott Flowers, or Flot Scours is a level 1 fighter. So, let me show what they show here. It shows, first of all, this is the information. It's a medium humanoid. Any alignment, that's just your basic background. It's already got their armor class set up, as well as what they're wearing. Chain, shirt, shield. Already, this is the exact entry out of the monsters manual. So if you were to open up your book and look alongside, it is exactly word for word this. However, keep note before we get to the combat part, the hit points. It shows hit points at 11. That's probably, it may not, it will probably change because of some settings that you can change in Fantasy Grounds. But it shows everything that a guard would have on this default guard would have. That's got a spear. That's not really the archer I want, but these might be the guys in front of the gate. So I can click guard and drag it into my combat table. And let's say I wanted 2 of them. I can update real time the challenge rating as I do so. So 2 of them right now the combat is a 1/4 rating encounter, and it automatically updates their XP too. So I'm like, okay, cool. I do want some range fighters though. So let's see. What about scouts? They get bows. Yeah, they get long bows. So even though it says scout, I mean the flavor is really whatever you want it to be. They get multi-text too. Ooh, that's nasty. So I'm gonna throw. We'll throw 2 scouts in here. Don't want to make it too hard. Update my combat rating. Ooh, wow. Alright. That's already a little difficult. I might have to give Flot Scours some help while he's out there. Because I'm going to throw 1 more enemy in here. We'll throw... What's a veteran? What level is that? Oh god, no. Don't want no veteran. You know what? Let's just keep it basic. 2 melees, 2 range. I go, alright, cool. I got my first combat encounter. Let's rename it City Gates. City Gate Encounter. And I can lock it, so no more changes can be made to it. Alright, so I know at the start of the adventure, Flot Scours is going to be approaching the city gate. What I do, since this battle map takes up a lot of screen, and if I had stuff I need to work on, I could right-click on it and minimize it, and set it aside for now, and open it when I need it. But for now, I'm going to leave it open because we're going to play around with it. The first thing I need to do before I start setting up the encounter is, or start finalizing the encounter, is I need to set the battle grid. Now this is one of the maps that actually already has a battle grid built into it. But what you can do is, in order for combat to work in Fantasy Grounds, you have to have the battle grid activated. Otherwise, it doesn't work. But it's simple to set up. You come into the map, once you have it open, right-click, go to Layers, and then Set Grid. And then I can just copy over the lines they've already provided and set my grid. Easy as that. Now, we're playing the game. You're playing your character, and you finally put 2 and 2 together that you have to approach the city. I'm like, all right, time for me to start setting up the encounter. So while the players are, talking to themselves in the background, doing their thing, as a DM, I'm coming in here, and I'm going ahead and I'm setting up the encounter. Now, let me close NPCs. Let me close the library for now. I'm just going to leave this over here and this over here. The next thing, bringing back up Flot Scours for a minute. As a player, there are 3 main windows other than the battle map that you need to have open at all times. The first is your character sheet. The second is the combat tracker. Let me clear it out here. Right click to delete all items in here. The combat tracker is pivotal to Fantasy Grounds doing what it does best. Because while the players are doing their thing in the background, I can go ahead and be setting up the combat encounter. I click on, actually I gotta give your character an icon first. So on your character sheet, and the player can do this, they click on portrait here, and it pulls up all my portraits that a lot of them, all these right here, you can tell these are the default ones. That one kind of looks like you, actually. So I'm gonna click that one. That's your portrait. Like I said, as the players are doing their thing, in the background, what I'm doing is I'm going ahead and set up the combat encounter. So I know Flot Scours is going to be a part of it. So I go over, I drag him into the combat tracker, and he's in there already. Now, normally what I do with my players, I just leave them in the combat tracker at all times, so I don't forget to put them back in there, because it's already given that more than likely they're going to be in the combat. But what they don't see, and I have another version of Fantasy Grounds running in the side here. I'm going to go ahead and drag it over real quick. You'll see on this Fantasy Grounds, this is my non-DM version here. If I pull it, I'm not going to make it full screen. I don't want it to be too complicated. On this screen here, when I pull up this combat tracker, you'll see this is what a player will see via the system settings that I have set. The way I have my game set up is I don't want players to be able to see. They can see their own HP. They know what their own HP is, but they aren't able to really tell what the other player's HPs are. It's got a status instead. So if they get hurt, it'll say light or moderate or heavy or near death or whatever, and then dead. That can be changed, and I know I'm kind of going off topic here. Well, I'll cover settings here in a minute, but the basic setting for that is under the setting options, you can go to view ally health. I got mine set to status instead of detailed. Again, we'll cover that in a little bit. But as far as a player goes on their combat tracker, this is what they'll see. Now watch as this let's say this was your screen over here. On my screen, while all the players are saying, "We got to go to this town. We got to go talk to these to the Baron of Bullshitville or whatever." While everyone's talking, I'm setting up the combat encounter. This little arrow here on the city gate encounter at the bottom here, I can click it, and it automatically populates the combat tracker with my fighters for the upcoming fight. And you'll notice on your screen they didn't even show up yet because I haven't made them visible. And I go, all right, so you guys approach, blah blah blah. The guards state, what's your business, blah blah blah. But eventually, it's going to come out to a fight. So while they're doing their little RP, I'm sorry. So Flot Scours, you're right here maybe. And the reason why it looks like this is because I've got the grid set. The game automatically knows Flot Scours has a 5-foot reach all around them. So when you hover over yourself, you can see everywhere you can reach. So you walk up to the gate, and I'm like, all right. So you see, let's see, we'll say a scout here. There's a scout here, and there's 2 guards in front of the gate. Blah blah blah. Now on your screen. Oh, that's another thing. So you walk up to the city gate, and I'll go, all right, let me show you. This is what this is the scene as you approach. And at this point, right now, these enemies, let's say they're not hostile yet. We'll say they're neutral. Not you. You're friendly, obviously. You set your enemies to neutral. And then I go, all right. So as you approach, you right-click on the battle map here, click on Sharing, and Share Sheet. Now, on Flot Scour screen, you'll notice I don't have, again, it's not full screen. This takes up, what I was talking about earlier about screen space? This is what I was talking about. Let me resize this real quick. Actually, so what I can do here, I can right-click again, Sharing, Sync Client View, and then Lock Client View. I don't know if it's going to change it too much. It probably won't. No, not really. What the locking client view is, even though there's more outside of this area, if you as a player scrolled out, you couldn't see past what I've already showed you. Keep people from getting too nosy. So anyway, on your screen, actually, let me resize this for you. You can click and drag the resize button down here, whatever. That's really all you need here. Again, you don't see the enemies yet. You approach, and you can tell these guys are clearly agitated. At this point, you said something to piss them off. You told them to go fuck off. I'm like, alright, okay, cool. So they jump hostile. And I go, alright, so it appears the guards want to fight. Roll for initiative. At this point, I can click this button here, which is show all invisible NPCs. They're now all visible on your screen. Again, they're all now visible. Now here's where it gets cool. I say, alright, roll for initiative. You're like, alright, time to fight. Again, you should always have, as a player, a combat tracker, which now, as you can see, shows the bad guys. And you as a player should always have your character sheet open. And I go, alright, Flot Scours, I want to fight, roll for initiative. In your character sheet, you double click on initiative, automatically rolls it for you. 18 plus 1, 19, and look on your combat tracker, it is automatically already applied to your initiative. Now you see my enemies haven't rolled yet. So as the DM, I go, they're gonna fight. Alright, I can go down here to menu. This is my combat tracker menu. I can do initiative. Oh, before I do that, remember how I said the guard had 11 HP? You'll see here, in the default player's book, guards had 11, but one of the settings that I have is variable HP rolls. So it automatically rolls the, you know, the parentheses where it says guards have like 2d6 plus 1 or whatever. It's automatically, it rolled that dice and applied the variable HP. So my bad guys usually have mixed health levels, but they don't have their initiative yet. So I go down the menu here, initiative, and I can roll for everybody. I can roll for just the PCs. I can roll for just the NPCs, or I can clear them all. Well, I need to roll for all the NPCs. So I click that, automatically rolled for me. They're already all listed there. And luckily, Plot Scours gets to go first. So on your screen, oh, by the way, what I like to do as a DM, because I'm an awesome DM, at this point, I usually have my players also on Roll20 in the background. At this point, it's like, oh shit, combat. Time to change over to some combat music. Ah, see, I'm fancy. Alright, so roll for initiative. You rolled, I'm like, alright, Plot Scours. You can clearly see the enemies are agitated. Luckily, you're faster than they are. You get a chance to act first. What would you like to do? And you go, alright, well, I see the enemy archers up top, and I know they got a clear shot on me. I want to take them out first. So, actually, let me lock your tokens in real quick. I'll show you why. I go, alright, so you want to move? You go, yeah, I want to move. You go, I'm going to move back down a way so I get a clear shot of them. I said, alright, go ahead and show me where you want to go. As the PC, you can click on your character and say, I want to move 20 feet to this square here. As the DM, I see that. If the tokens are locked, which I like to do, I like to see the line. I go, alright, okay, I see you want to move there. I can right click on Plot Scours and I'll accept their move. And it moves them for me. And you'll see it moved on this screen too. And I go, alright, so you move down, you can kind of see the archer up on the parapet. It looks like she's probably, you can tell she's got the wall of the parapet, kind of offering them some more defense than what she normally would have. You still want to try to attack me? Like, hell yeah, I want to take this bitch out. I want to take my bow out and I want to fire at her, my crossbow. Alright, so I'm like, okay, cool. She's in partial cover, so she's gonna have a +2 to her AC. The easiest way to do that is, as a player, I'll say before you attack, down here into the chat screen, I'll say just add a -2 to your attack roll, and you can click that. And when you go to roll, the game will automatically calculate that into it. And I go, all right, so pull your bow out and fire. Well, actually, first you have to target her. As the player, once you click on yourself to make sure you got that black circle, and you hold down Control and click on the enemy you want to attack. It draws a line, and on my screen and on your screen, it shows that you have targeted Scout 1. Same on mine. You've targeted Scout 1. I go, alright, fire your bow. You go to your actions, crossbow light, say roll to hit, and you can just double click, or you can drag and drop it on the chat bar. I like to just do the double click. You missed. But for sake of brevity, I'm going to roll again until you hit. Automatic miss. Damn, you suck at crossbows. You see it automatically has been updating my ammo count here. Keeps track of it for me. I don't know if you can see that, but it does. Roll again. Jesus Christ, you suck with a longbow, Scott. Or crossbow. There you go. You hit. I go, alright, so you hit. You'll see on the screen on the chat bar, it shows you if you miss or hit. That's a hit. Alright, so you even though she's behind cover, you managed to get a good shot on her. Go ahead and fire. And also, I realized I didn't include a -2 on the next couple of hits, whatever. So you fire. Alright, so roll for damage. All you do, double click. Alright, so you did 7 points of damage to her. Now, look at this shit. On your screen, on the combat tracker, it's already updated to show that Scout 1 now looks heavy. Like you've done some heavy damage to it. On my screen, it's automatically already updated to show that out of her 10 HP, you've already done 7 points of damage to her. So you're like, alright, and also, if you notice, all of my tokens have these little green dots on them, except for Scout 1, who now has a red dot, as a visual cue that you've hurt her. So, alright, so you fire, you do some pretty heavy damage. It looks like you've hurt her pretty badly. And then on your screen, which by the way I forgot to set combat start, do that real quick. On your screen, I say, alright, is that your turn? You're like, yeah, that's my turn. I say, alright, go ahead and advance the clock. All you do is hit the turn complete button here, and advance it to the next person in line, which, in this battle, there are these 4 guards, which are probably going to whoop your ass, but I'm going to show you how it works anyway. So as a DM, I go, alright, so guard 1, I don't get the little move lines as a DM. 1, I have to count them out, but I guess that's the downfall being a DM. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 2 guards rush at you. Oh, that one does. Scout 2. It's got plenty of range. So as Scout 2, I'm gonna target. You see it's updated my target. As a DM, you'll see, because I've added them from the Monsters Manual, it's already updated in my combat tracker everything that Scout 2 can do. A multi-attack. They got short swords and longbows. So with multi-attack, I know they get to fire twice. So I go, alright, so the longbow on top of the parapet pulls out 2 arrows, knocks them in her bow, and fires them both simultaneously at you. So I roll my attack twice. 1 hits, 1 misses. And then I can just roll my damage. And it automatically applies it to you. Oh, I rolled the wrong damage. I'm sorry. Did it apply that? No, it didn't. It didn't apply it because it knew I rolled the wrong one. No, it didn't. I rolled short. Oh, I did that terribly. Try that again. 2 fires with this. Oh, I didn't target you. That's what I did wrong. About to target. Targeting is important in this. Make sure you have your targets. Targets, flot scours. Alright, now let's do it. Fires 2 shots. 1 miss, both miss. Guard 2 makes his run forward. Right there. Scout 1, the one that you hit earlier. It also targets you. And fires twice. Now, I'm glad that happened. Scout 2, or Scout 1 on its second hit, roll a critical, a natural 20. The game automatically calculates that for you. When I roll my damage on that, it'll automatically apply the critical. You'll see it, it'll be the extra die roll on there. Instead of rolling 1 die, it'll roll 2. Even though in the book here, the sheet here, it says 1d8 plus 2. Oh, it rolled it. Did I? Huh. Oh, damn it, I untargeted you. Well, shit. Oh well, you can hold down shit. You can hold down shift to automatically apply a critical. In case that happens. So she shoots you for 10 points of damage, very visibly wounding you. And that's the basic gist of combat. The other thing that Fantasy Grounds keeps track of are your effects, which leads me to earlier where I added Bless onto your character sheet. So we skip back to your turn again, which it dings, you just heard it ding, letting you know that, hey, motherfucker, don't fall asleep, you're up. Let's say either you do it or there's a cleric in your party. Let's say you wanted to cast Bless on yourself, or someone cast Bless on you. Instead of targeting the scout up here, you can remove that target. Instead, targeting yourself up on your screen. If you're on the right screen here. Yep. So you target yourself, and you want to cast your Bless spell on yourself. So I'm going to cast Bless. All right, go ahead and cast. There's no roll for Bless. It's just an effect. So you click Effect, and it applies the effect onto your character. This is another cool fucking part of Fantasy Grounds. Effects. Anytime you roll an attack, you add an extra 1d4. Anytime you roll a save, it's another 1d4. It's a concentration spell, and it lasts for 10 rounds. Fantasy Ground automatically keeps track of this all. On my screen, let's say I've completely forgotten that you've cast Bless on yourself, and we go to another round of combat, somehow you miraculously surviving. When I go back to your turn again, notice the clock up here says 10 rounds. When I go back to Flott's Scours again, it's automatically dropped down to 9. It keeps track of the turn of effects. And you go to attack the scout up here again, because that's what you do. I'm going to do it on your screen just so I can, for brevity's sake. Well, not brevity, but you get what I'm saying. You target scout 1, and you shoot again. Remember, you are blessed at this point. And I've forgotten about it, you've forgotten about it. You do your roll, the game automatically, Fantasy Grounds automatically includes the 1d4 from Bless. It rolls it for you. So you've hit. And I go, alright, roll your damage. And you roll your damage. And it tells you you've exceeded her maximum her hit points by 4. She is dying. You've killed her. Her icon has gone gray, showing that she's dead on your screen. Your combat tracker shows her as dying. On my screen, I can see you've done enough damage to kill her. And then it automatically pops up this little symbol here. I can take her off the map. She's gone. And that's pretty much everything involved in combat. Spells work similarly as attacks. If you have an attack spell, let's say instead of being a fighter, you were a cleric and you had access to cure wounds as well. You're heavily injured here, and you're like, I need to heal myself. On your screen, where are we at here? You can click on yourself. Oh, come on, my mouse sucks. You can target yourself, and you can click on Cure Wounds, and roll your heal. It sucked, but it worked. You can see it added. Oh, it wasn't that bad. 7. Yeah, so you've added 7 health back to you. Automatically adds it for me as well. It takes care of everything for you, man. That's why Fantasy Ground is fucking awesome. What else? What else? Oh, let's say you manage to systematically slaughter all these bad guys. Let me go ahead and... Come on, mouse. So you did the 7 points of damage to this guy. You did your 12 points of damage to this guy. You did your 6 points of damage... Oh, not 5. You've done your 6 points of damage to this guy. And you manage to systematically slaughter them all. And then 9 rounds pass. The effect automatically goes away when the countdown goes down. I don't have to remember to remove it unless combat ends early. Then I gotta go and manually remove it. It's whatever. But you manage to finish the combat encounter. Let me stop the music here. At this point, remember how I told you that there's 3 main screens that players should always have up. First is the character sheet. Second is their combat tracker. The third, it's next to the combat tracker. By the way, the combat tracker was the 2 crossed swords. Next to it is the eye with the 3 silhouettes of people. That's the party sheet. Now I'm not gonna actually do the stuff here because I've got my characters set up for my other game. But as a player, you see these you have access to these party sheet. In fact, on the player screen, if you click on that main, if you were in the party, this is what you would see. And you can see whatever. In my game, I play under the impression that players aren't trying to hide shit from each other, so you can easily see what's in each other's inventory, unless someone specifically wants something hidden. In that case, I'll deal with that later. It shows how the total max of everything that the party has as far as silver, copper, and gold, as well as how it's divided between the characters. Same thing with the items. And really, that's the 2 things here. Well, the first page, the main screen, is just really for the players to kind of keep track of things. As for the DM has a third. On the DM's party sheet. DM has a third one called XP. If you play by XP rules, the cool thing that Fantasy Ground does is it allows you to automatically calculate all that too. Remember that city gate encounter where it calculated the CR and the XP? I can Very easy. Say, all right, you completed this encounter. I can click City Gate Encounter, drag it over here to Encounter XP, and place it in. And then I can award it. And it'll automatically distribute that 250 to everybody who was involved. I'm not going to hit it here because I don't want to mess up my XP totals up there. But it automatically distributes it. Same thing with items that are awarded in combat. I didn't create a parcel for the City Gate encounter because I didn't think to get to it. But another screen I haven't loaded up yet is the item screen here, which also has this thing called parcels. You can create a parcel to be distributed at the end of any. If you think an encounter would have a parcel, let's use the ogre parcel that I created earlier. Under the inventory, as the DM, I can drag this entire parcel into the parcel screen. Basically, it's like the loot window for like an MMO. I said, all right, so you wipe up the encounter after a cursory glance around the battlefield. You find the following items. Check your parcel screen. You can go to inventory. Then, as the player, you can see everything that was found on the battle screen. And then I let my players. This is my genius part is people love loot, right? So while they're busy arguing amongst themselves over, well, I want to get this and I want to get this, I'm already setting things up for the next encounter that I think is going to happen, or preparing my NPCs or anything that's coming up in the future. Because as a player, once you decided, well, I want these 4 potions, you can click the little shield, go to your inventory, have your inventory open. You're like, well, these 4 potions, by the way, as a player, all you know as a player that these potions are vials of red liquid that shimmer when agitated. On my screen, on the DM screen, if I click on these potions, I know that these are actually potions of healing, and it has even more description out at the bottom. You regain 2d4 plus 2 hit points. That's because they're magic items. They haven't been identified yet. On your screen, as the player, this is all you get. You go, well, it might be a healing potion. I don't know. We'll find out. We gotta get them identified first. You click it, and you can drag it and drop it in your inventory. It automatically updates it here. It was 4, now it's 3. Now you have 1 in your inventory, and it still just says a vial of red liquid. Well, let's say I'm like, all right, so let's say you have a wizard who identifies it. I go, yeah, your wizard takes a few minutes to look at it, and he's easily identified these as potions of healings. As a DM, I can click this item here, and as a player, when you click on it, now, oh, hold on. Oh, it's because that was the other one. I have to go to your inventory. I go, yeah, so your wizard identified it as a potion of healing. In your inventory, it updates automatically to a potion of healing. And now when you look at it, it tells you everything about it. Same thing with magic weapons. Same thing with anything else. Fucking, it's a genius, Scott. Let's see, what else? That's pretty much everything involved that I use frequently in combat. Close my partials, close my items. Well, the other thing, this is something that I just recently found that I can do. It's the Magic Item Forge. I haven't really delved into it too much. It's used to just create really quick magic items. Let's say your character is like, you played somebody who wielded a light hammer, and you had an enchanter or something in town, and she's like, I want to get my magic item enchanted. You come into the magic item templates, and you want to add a +1 to it. You can do this, and then forge the magic item, and bam! Now we have a light hammer +1. Automatically creates it for you. It's fucking beautiful, and I believe it automatically adds it to your item list too. I could be wrong. Yep, light hammer +1. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I use as a DM for like combat encounters. Hopefully, last thing. Let's say you fought everything, and you. Oh, by the way, that experience I would have rewarded earlier under your class and level, it would have automatically added it here. Your next level is I think level 300 or 300 experience point. Let's say you earned enough experience points to level up, and you wanted. All right, so before we end the session tonight, let's go ahead and get your second level ready. As a player, we'll do it on the player screen. As the player, you can open up your library, Player's Handbook, Classes, Fighter. Scroll down till you see, well, you're like, what does the fighter get at level 2? You got level 2, they learn Action Surge. So as a player, under your class and level, the only thing you have to do, at first I thought you can change the level here. That's not the best way to do it. You just go back to your classes under your library and just drag another level of fighter in here. Automatically adds it. And then under your abilities, automatically has added Action Surge, so you know it's there. Same thing with spells. Same thing with hit die. You'll see it's already rolled your hit die for you when I leveled you up. I believe. Let me double check. You didn't have 20 before. You only had like 12. So yeah, it rolled the hit die for you. Let's see. What else? Yeah, there it is. It awarded you the average hit points. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so leveling up is easy. Creating characters is easy. Running a combat is easier. Keeping track of everything is easier. The rest that Fantasy Grounds offers is pretty much just fluff stuff to give you the option to present the best game possible to your players. For example, they're traveling along at night or during the day, and the sun begins to set, and they go, all right, so we want to camp for the night. And I go, all right, so yeah, it's about 8 o'clock p.m. The sun begins to set. I can change the change the UE to be darker. And they go, well, we want to set up camp. And I go, all right, so you managed to take a few moments to set up a campfire. And it gets a little warm. Just flavor stuff. NPCs, this is where you can individually... So when I was setting up that encounter earlier, with the guys from the Monster Manual, the guard or whatever, let's say it was Scout. Yeah. So under my encounters, let's say I wanted to modify the fight. I wanted to change the Scout a little bit. The default built-in NPCs created with the Monster Manual, you can't edit them. It's read only. But if you wanted to create your special version of it, all you do is you take the Scout from the NPC in the book, drag it to your NPC list over here, and then you can completely edit that Scout to be whatever you want it to be. You can change what weapon they have, their pluses, their attacks, and everything. You can really customize your NPCs that way. But you can do that. What else can you do? What other flavor stuff? Items. I covered items. Notes. You can create notes for your players. Present them to them. Same. Roll20 has this built in. So, for example, this is a crumpled letter that they found earlier. You can make note entries look exactly or similar to how they appear in the player's handbook. So you can give it like a big red title here, and then when you open up, you can separate them by title, legends, church, spell preparation, make it look all fancy, whatever. Went over that. What's this? Oh, these little. In case you needed a quick list of all the effects. These are a list of all the effects. You can create your own effects. If you need to just drag restrained on somebody, you can just drag and drop it. You can change the color of your die at will whenever you want to. So if I wanted more red, I can click more red. My die is down there change. I'm not a big fan of it being all red, so I'm gonna move some of that, make it black again. I like being able to read my die. It's got a built-in calendar, which I very rarely use. List of all the tables you could ever possibly want if you need them. What's this plus and minus? Oh, modifiers. So I could have had that covered from there. I went over all my library modules. Dungeon Master's Guide. The only reason I got that one was for the Magic Item Forge. I don't really use anything else out of there. Monster Manual is that's my bread and butter, dude. I fucking love that. That is the best thing for a DM, as well as the Player's Handbook Deluxe. Both of those best purchases I made for Fantasy Grounds. The other ones, not so much. I use them occasionally. Like 5th Edition Foes is a third-party book of bad guys. In case my players start thinking they know what my enemies are going to do, I can throw some from there. Book of Lost Spells, in case you have spellcasters that want more flavor for what they do. I guess the final thing would be the settings. So I've got mine set the way I like it. It can be changed. You can add new languages and show. Oh yeah, so let's say the party runs up on a group of orcs and no one speaks orc. I can click here and click on orc and type in some pretty important information like you are all going to die in 5 minutes. Hit enter. And if you don't speak orc, you can't read that. If you can though, it'll show the translation like it shows it for me. What else? What I do in my settings, I make it where all my roles are private. I make it where they have to identify items. I turn the dice tower on, but I've got to the point where I don't really like using it. I think players like to see what they rolled. Auto NPC initiative, like applying the HP earlier, I can have my combat tracker automatically assign initiative. I don't really like doing that for some reason. Let's see. Effects and health. I don't like them to be able to know what the health numbers, what the actual HP is. I like setting that as an icon that changes color instead of a bar that goes up and down. What else? You can set it where if your players die, you can have the death rolls automatically rolled for them. I don't like doing that either. I think it's more dramatic if they roll it themselves. And that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else except maybe tokens. You can always create your own custom tokens and just drop it into your GM token folder to use whenever you want to. So like my players had an encounter with a cultist wizard, and I didn't like the default token they provided, so I created my own using a program called Token Tool, and then made him a special NPC and gave him my own individual tokens. And you'll see I have a little theme going on here. All my players usually when I create tokens for them, I'll give them a gold ring, and all my bad guys I'll give them a red ring. And unless it's a really powerful bad guy like this pit fiend over here, I give it a really special like elite ring. So kind of gives them an idea of power level without really giving it away. You can customize your tokens like that. What else? I mean, like I said, the story fluff stuff. Let's say you had a big long description for a quest. You can create it here, and if you don't like saying it out loud, if you want it to just be text, you can take that entire text box that you've written and that you wrote and drag it over here to your chat window and drop it. I prefer just saying it out loud. That's just my style of DMing. But yeah, this hopefully covers everything. As for why I'll never go back to using Roll20 as my go-to tabletop anymore, just because of everything that this program does behind the scenes for you as a player and as a DM. The auto calculations are amazing. It keeps track of stuff that player or DMs can easily forget about, such as like Bless or any other long-term effects. Player creation is easy. Monster creation is easy. Encounter creation is easier. Once you set a grid up, it's easy to keep track of stuff in combat. Your players can't just willy-nilly move their tokens around, which in Roll20, and I know this for a fact, unless you have access to their API scripts, so you have their highest level membership, the mentor status, you can't make it so players can't move their own tokens in combat unless you have the API script for it. So if you want to do that with Roll20, you have to have the membership. What else? I think that about covers it. Hopefully. But last thing, the bars at the bottom for your frequently used attacks or rolls, you can make macros for them. I never really use them as a DM. I just have so much stuff going on that I don't use them. But players, I know a lot of players that set theirs up down there. Yeah. I don't know how long I've been talking for. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but this is Fantasy Grounds. Hopefully you like this video, or at least can see why I like it. I'm sure I'm not going to convince you, just from what I've shown you, to want to drop that much money onto Fantasy Grounds, because trust me, I realize it's a lot. Fantasy Grounds has a similar program, similar subscription model that Roll20 has. If you don't want to drop the $140 for the Ultimate Edition, you can do the $10 a month and still get Ultimate. But again, that's a subscription. You'd have to continually pay it. Once you do the $140, there's no subscription. And again, I had to buy. I bought those 3 books. I bought the Monsters Manual, the Player's Handbook, and the Dungeon Master's Guide, which ended up adding up to about I think $80. So I've dropped some money into this, which I realize is definitely a money sink, and I realize Roll20 is the cheaper option. But I guess final thought on the whole thing is you get what you pay for. So I like my tables to be run smoothly and as professionally as possible. So I can't see me ever going back to using Roll20 for anything other than the jukebox, honestly. And with that ends this video, man. I look forward to playing a new game. Again, I'm kind of trying to convert you over to Fantasy Grounds, but only because I truly believe it's the better option. I would never force it on you, because Roll20 is fine. It requires more work, more involvement, but you can make it just run just as smoothly as Fantasy Grounds with the right amount of work. Last thing, promise. If you decide you want to see Fantasy Grounds in true action, you are more than welcome the next time we play with my group. I want to say I think we're setting up Monday nights as our play night. I know it's a weird night of the week, but for some reason, everybody was available for our first session Monday night. I don't know if it's going to be official, but if you decide you want to sit in one night or even bring in like a guest character, I'm more than happy to let you drop in and check it out and see how it runs, see how I DM. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to end the video now. I'm going to post it up on whoever can host it so you can check it out. If you decide to want to watch it, maybe like a podcast for it. Again, I don't even know how long I've been recording for at this point. When I upload it, I'll look at it. It feels like it's been about an hour. I didn't set a start time. But anyway, man, I'll talk to you later. And hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something, maybe. Maybe giving you a change of thought on Fantasy Grounds. And I'll talk to you later, man. See you.